Under the earth, monsters lay dormant for hundreds of thousands of years until in 1986, they were unleashed upon the shelves of your local Toys R Us. Inhumanoids was a short-lived action figure line with a 13-episode cartoon series and 4-issue comic book that created a fascinating and complex Lovecraftian fantasy world unlike any toy line that had come before it. This is the mythology of Inhumanoids. As with any action figure lore, there is not one creator but several. The Inhumanoids was created from a pitch to Hasbro by Marvel editor Tom DeFalco. Originally called the Force of Light, the concept would attempt something that had never been done before in action figure history, to create a line of giant monsters and heroes to fight them. DeFalco's pitch was changed into the Inhumanoids, making it one of the only action figure mythologies to be named after the villains rather than the heroes. Designer David McDonald created the look of most of the characters. You can check out David's extensive collection of Inhumanoids images on his Facebook page. I will put a link in the description. David would continue a long career working on brands like Cops, Air Raiders, and Spin Masters. He was eventually joined by G.I. Joe designer Ron Rudat, who created some of the designs for the unproduced second series. While the second series never came to fruition, many of the designs made it into the cartoon. The action figure file cards were written by Larry Hama, the same person who wrote all the file cards for G.I. Joe, but it is the cartoon which can be seen as the definitive source of the mythology. The cartoon was created as a co-production by Marvel and Sunbow Animation, with the animation done by Toei. This is the same studio that created G.I. Joe, Transformers, Gem and the Holograms, and Visionaries, and shares much of the DNA of these other iconic shows. The animation had a style unique to the show. Hard shadows were painted into each character, giving the show a chiaroscuro, horror-infused look. The authors of the Inhumanoids mythology are the writers at Sunbow Animation, Flint Dille, with episodes written by Flint Dille, Richard Merwin, and Buzz Dixon. Dixon and Dille are responsible for many of the greatest cartoons of the 80s, and here they are at their most creatively uninhibited. The cartoon began as part of the Super Sunday animation block, 6-minute shorts that aired alongside Gem and the Holograms, Bigfoot and the Muscle Machines, and Robotics, and then became a full-on 13-episode series. However, by the time they were producing the series, the Inhumanoids toy line had already been canceled. Yet Sunbow Animation had an order for 13 episodes. So Dille and Dixon were given the direction, do whatever you want as long as we can put it on TV. And they had at it, and made one of the most batshit insane mythologies of the 1980s. A story full of body horror, satanic monsters, death cults, political satire, and kaiju love stories. You know, for kids. The story of Inhumanoids begins when a megamaniacal billionaire unleashes an ancient evil long since buried underground. The Earth Force, led by Herc Armstrong, must battle alongside a race of ancient monsters in order to save the world from massive evil beasts that emerge from the center of the Earth. Inhumanoids would fit comfortably into the fiction genre called Lovecraftian fiction. Whereas Hasbro was born in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, Howard Phillips Lovecraft was born just one town over, in Providence. In fact, his gravestone reads, "I am Providence." H.P. Lovecraft was a reclusive xenophobe who wrote for weird tales and created some of the most iconic horror fiction of the 20th century. Don't ask me to tell you the name of his cat. You two wouldn't like that. The particular brand of horror that Lovecraft invented is called cosmic horror. It involves entities older than time that are awakened after a long sleep to terrorize the world and bring about its end. His most famous creation, Cthulhu, bears a resemblance to the action figure Tendril. While Inhumanoids brought cosmic horror to the toy aisle, the story begins with a monster. But in the Inhumanoids mythology, not all monsters come from underground. Blackthorn Shore is the human villain in the Inhumanoids story and the one who begins it all. If you listen closely, you may hear the voice of a hero, as Blackthorn Shore shares the same voice actor as Duke from G.I. Joe.
So, the ancient documents were right.
He is voiced by the great Michael Bell, who also voices Augur. With his eye patch and gruff demeanor, Blackthorn Shore is the epitome of 80s cartoon villainy. But let's give the guy a break. I mean, when your parents name you Blackthorn, did you really have any choice but to become evil? He commissions a crew to drill into the center of the Earth, knowing that underneath the surface, the Inhumanoid Tendril lies waiting, imprisoned in its tomb. See, Blackthorn has uncovered ancient documents, not unlike Lovecraft's Necronomicon, that tell of the world of the Inhumanoids, and Blackthorn believes he can control them and use their power for his own evil ends. Blackthorn's plan works. The monstrous tendril is unleashed from his prison and begins to terrorize the world. At the same time, a strange discovery has been uncovered near Big Sur. A massive dinosaur encased in amber is found and will be unveiled to the public. A group of scientists called the Earthcore is brought in to study the artifact, but they will be called to do far more than study it. It is no dinosaur, it is the Inhumanoid Decompose. Tendril crashes the party and unleashes Decompose, and the monsters run off to release their master, the Inhumanoid Metlar. Meanwhile, the Earthcore member Liquidator is confronted by a race of sentient trees that warn him of the war he is about to become a part of. He meets a sentient tree named Redlen. Redlen is a Muttor. He tells Liquidator of the story of an ancient conflict. The Redlens, along with the Granites and their magnetic ally Magnacore, fought a war against the Inhumanoids. They lost many of their kind, but eventually won. Tendril was trapped in a stone tomb. Decompose was paralyzed by the sunlight and trapped in amber, and the demonic Metlar was trapped in a magnetic field created by a creature called Magnacore. Now something has unleashed the Inhumanoids and the war is back on, and thus begins the story. The Earthcore, with the help of the Muttors, battles to keep the Inhumanoids from rising and taking over the Earth, while Metlar leads a campaign to turn the world into a hellish landscape. Metlar, tyrant from the core, is the leader of the Inhumanoids. He leads through intimidation and fear. He is a giant, demonic-looking monster. Part of the reason of the Inhumanoids' failure as a toy line might be Metlar. Can you imagine being a parent in 1986 and wanting your child to have this massive plastic Satan? The designer has stated he modeled Metlar's face after NFL legend John Madden. See the resemblance? Metlar can regurgitate fire and hurl it at his enemies. His eyes hypnotize all who look at him. His servants are living statues that he animates using steam emanating off the lava found in Infernac. He likes to refer to human beings as flesh slugs. It's a derogatory term. If you have ever wondered how the pyramids were built, the Inhumanoids answers this question. Metlar built them as a tribute to his master, Slither. Metlar's only weaknesses are exposure to water. He can also be captured by a magnetic field. This is how he is trapped for thousands of years by the Muttor Magnacore. It is also how Blackthorn Shore attempts to trap and control him. Metlar's home is called Skellyweb. It is a city underground located near the core of the earth. It is full of structures that stand upright and hang upside down on the ceiling like bats in a cave. The buildings were created by human hands, humans who have been transformed by Decompose. Tendril, Ravager of the Earth's mantle, is a massive plant-based monster. If you cut off a part of his body, it will grow into another tendril, making him almost indestructible. He is capable of unleashing great destruction on the world. He is the cruelest and dumbest of the Inhumanoids. He is dumb enough to be fooled into thinking this Hollywood-created mechanical robot is another being just like him.
Yeah, baby, let's get down.
He is generally regarded as the most sought-after and well-designed figure in the bunch. Decompose, the undead horror, is a grotesque monster with the skull of a dinosaur-like creature and an exposed ribcage that he can use to imprison humans. Finding one on eBay that still has its head is not an easy task.
What is that thing?
Any animal he touches is turned into a grotesque zombie-like creature that he can control. The being may grow horns and may grow triple its size. Upon being turned, the zombie may scream, The only way to turn the person back is to expose them to sunlight, or as Granic calls it, the creature must be exposed to white burn. Sunlight is Decompose's greatest weakness, and he must return to Skellyweb before the sun rises or risk being destroyed. Decompose commands an army of skeletal bat-like creatures called Death Bats. A cult forms to worship Decompose. It attracts teenagers who feel disaffected and offers them ultimate power. Led by Brother Druid, who eventually is revealed to be Blackthorn Shore, the cult ends when Decompose turns everyone, including the intrepid reporter Hector Ramirez, into a zombie, giving us the most horrific episode of the series. Further connecting the many worlds of Hasbro and Sunbow properties, you can see Decompose on the TV screen in an episode of Gem and the Holograms. The three monsters are the most sought-after pieces of the Inhumanoids line. There are more Inhumanoids that never got their own figure. The Gargoyle is unlike the other Inhumanoids and has limited intelligence. Gargoyle devours everything he sees. He is a blue one-eyed monster with a large mouth and rows of sharp teeth. His stomach is translucent and contains a large volume of yellowish stomach fluids. Images of a prototype of a Gargoyle figure have surfaced online. The monstrous Nightcrawler commands Gargoyle and uses him to control Blackthorn Shore.
Gorge yourself on flesh slug, Gargoyle.
Together they attempt to overthrow Metlar, and Gargoyle even chomps off Decompose's arm. Nightcrawler forces Decompose to agree to work with him or never get his arm back, and Decompose agrees. Gargoyle appears to be the only thing Metlar fears. Slither is the former leader of the Inhumanoids who was overthrown by Metlar and trapped in a temple. He is a giant lizard-like monster who is carried around in a chariot led by two snake-like creatures. Slither was the reason the pyramids were built, the reason many temples were created all around the world. He is a narcissist of a monster that requires constant tribute. Temples and statues tributing Slither may have been what created the image of the Chinese dragon. He can fire electric blasts from his mouth and command a legion of giant men with beast faces. Is it possible ancient statues were inspired by his beastmen companions? He was overthrown and captured by Metlar and imprisoned in a temple until he was released. Now he seeks to take back control over the Inhumanoids, creating a war between him and his former slave, Metlar. A Slither figure had been planned if Inhumanoids had made it to the second series. Earthcore is a government-funded group of research scientists. They are reluctant heroes, tasked with a job they did not sign up for. They are fitted with enhanced suits that contain specialized weaponry and protect them from harm. Each suit enhances their strength, and it would need to, as the suits themselves weigh over 500 pounds. The action figures all come with a special feature that would be their suit's main power. On the file card, it claims the features described below are what a real exploration suit might have. Clip and save for your scientific files. Maybe not so much. Each figure's helmet is fitted with glow-in-the-light light piping. You can place the figure under a light source and it will light up. The helmets are supposed to be vision optimization units that allow the Earthcore to see in any spectrum of light. Herc Armstrong, aka Hooker, that's right, I said Hooker, get your mind out of the gutter. It's because he uses a grappling hook pulley system as his main tool. He is the leader of the Earthcore. He is voiced by Neil Ross, best known for playing Shipwreck on G.I. Joe. He is a courageous fighter and the most heroic of the bunch. Dr. Derek Bright, aka Digger, is the designer of the Earthcore's suits and equipment. His file card says he is obsessed with self-help books and suffered an accident which left him without the use of his legs. However, the cybernetic suit gives him the ability to walk. Although this detail never shows up in the cartoon, it would have made him one of the first heroic action figures to have a disability. He is voiced by Richard Sanders, best known as Les Nessman from WKRP in Cincinnati. He is a bookish, nerdy type. His suit is fitted with digger claws that can cut through rock. Dr. Jonathan Martin Slattery, aka Liquidator, is the most quiet and philosophical of the group. He lives on another cosmic plane.
You know, there's something strangely beautiful about all this.
His file card describes him as a Vietnam vet who feels more comfortable in the underground world than with regular folk. His suit contains a chemical spraying device that can be used to distribute a variety of chemicals. The large bulbs on his legs aren't just for looks, they are reservoirs used for storing liquid compounds. Liquidator is the one who makes first contact with the Muttors. He is voiced by William Calloway, best known as the voice of Beachhead on G.I. Joe. His suit sprays a variety of chemical compounds that can be used for various purposes. In possibly the strangest episode of the series, he mixes the wrong compound and accidentally accidentally sprays the Inhumanoids with a love potion. This results in Decompose falling in love with the mutated Sandra Shore, Tendril falling in love with a special effect version of Tendril from a Hollywood movie being made about the Inhumanoids, and most bizarrely, the demonic Metlar falls in love with the Statue of Liberty, which he animates using his powers and brings her to his lair, where she becomes an irritating, nagging housewife until he gets tired of her and returns her to her place on Ellis Island. The bushy-eyebrowed, bald-headed Edward the Fist Augutor, aka Augur, is the group's mechanic and the surliest and meanest of the group. He's also voiced by Michael Bell.
What a bunch of panty-waisted, quiche-eating, moist-eyed whips!
His suit is fitted with a drill bit, but the arm attachment can be traded for rocket launchers. He's a former boxer and is the toughest of the Earthcore members. He has a particular hatred for journalists, especially the obnoxious Hector Ramirez, and is known to destroy televisions to avoid having to hear Ramirez's voice. Hector Ramirez is a recurring character in the Sunbow universe. Created by Buzz Dixon as a parody of 80s stunt journalist Geraldo Rivera, Buzz Dixon uses Augur to voice his own disgust at journalists such as Geraldo. Hector Ramirez shows up in the Sunbow-produced cartoons Gem and the Holograms, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. In the final episode, Augur runs for president and wins, but gives up the presidency when he realizes he would be more used to the world as a member of Earthcore. His main weapon is a powerful multifunction drill weapon that is a combination drill, chisel, jackhammer, and grenade launcher. By the end of Season 1, the Earthcore has added 3 more members. Thornshore's sister Sandra discovers what her brother is doing and decides to move against him. When Blackthorn conspires with the congressman to cut the Earthcore's funding, Sandra steps in and agrees to fund their expositions herself, with one catch: she must be allowed to tag along. She even gets her own suit and eventually becomes the only female member of the Earthcore. She is voiced by classic TV and movies actress Susan Silo. Anatoly Kiev, the Tank Master, aka Tank, is a Soviet agent who goes against his government's plan.
We will drill a path to Metlar's command center at Infernac, expose the primal core, and then the engineers will blow up the Brezhnev Dam. Water will pour through the Earth's crust to the burning core. The contrast of heat and cold will cause an explosion that will eliminate any chance of an Inhumanoid uprising forever,
which would end all life on Earth, and he is declared a traitor by the Russian government. He is also voiced by Neil Ross. He's not an official member of the Earthcore, but he would have had his own action figure if a second series had been ordered. His suit has tank treads for feet, which allow him to move quickly across any terrain. His arm houses a powerful cannon. The left leg of his suit contains a smoke generator, which can create massive clouds of smoke to confuse his enemies. The name Brad Armbruster might sound familiar to fans of G.I. Joe because Brad is the G.I. Joe Sky Striker pilot Ace. It is confirmed by the show's creators that this is the same Brad Armbruster who was a member of G.I. Joe. Brad crashes his plane and may never walk again, but in the end he is given a flying suit made from the remnants of his plane and becomes the Earthcore member Saberjet. The Earthcore has 2 vehicles used to fight the Inhumanoids, the Trapper and the Terra Scout. The Trapper uses a claw and grappling hook and has a detachable sky sled. The specialized suits the Earthcore use help protect them against the Inhumanoids. Not only the good guys get special suits, Blackthorn Shore blackmails the corrupt Senator Masterson to give over the designs to the Earthcore's specialized suits, and he makes his own. His suit allows him magnetic powers that can control Metlar. He also is fitted with a biomechanical claw hand as well as a spinning drill. Blackthorn is not the only evil human seeking to use the Inhumanoids. He is joined by Dr. Mangler, aka the Nightcrawler.
It's interesting to note that Blackthorn shares his cell with the infamous Dr. Herman Mangler, the geneticist who was convicted of manufacturing nightmare creatures in his private lab.
The monstrous Nightcrawler is Blackthorn Shore's former cellmate, Dr. Herman Mangler. He was the type of kid who used to pull the wings off of flies, who grew up to become a mad scientist imprisoned for illegal genetic experimentation. When he and his cellmate escape, he slips and falls into a contaminated lake which dissolves his body, leaving only his skull. Blackthorn Shore asks Decompose to reanimate him, and he is turned into Nightcrawler, an undead warrior with a tentacle arm. There would have been a figure for Nightcrawler in the second series. His suit is held together with mummy wrapping, used to bind his electronic equipment to his rotting flesh. The suit includes a worm whip arm that can deliver a shock. The file card tells us his rotting flesh delivers a noxious ammonia-like odor that can stun on contact, and his suit contains life suckers that can drain the life of anything he touches. While he is undead and therefore impervious to most weapons, he shares Decompose's inability to survive in sunlight. The Earthcore is not alone in their fight against the Inhumanoids. They are joined by the Muttors. The Muttors are a race of subterranean creatures that help the Earthcore to fight against the Inhumanoids. It is the Muttor Redlen who makes first contact with Liquidator and tells him about the horrors of what is to come.
You never should have touched the amber.
Hey, look, we didn't know what we were doing.
Humans seldom do.
Redlen's deep, intense voice may sound familiar. He is voiced by Stephen Ralph Ross, who voiced Brainiac and Gorilla Grodd on Superpower's show. Redlen is a member of the Redwoods, a race of sentient trees. They wield weapons made of wood, staffs, and crossbows, and at first are reluctant to join the fight, but become fierce allies to the Earthcore. The Granites are sentient beings made out of rock. They can disguise themselves as a pile of rock and rise to transform into warriors. They have a more complex society than the Redlens and have a military run by generals. Their leader is Granok, and although he is a strong leader, there are other Granites who dislike him and work against him. The Granites seem to have bureaucracy and suffer from the same type of corruption and infighting us humans have to live with. Magnacore is a Muttor who can split between two halves, one made of magma, one of volcanic rock. Its two halves often bicker. Magnacore can create an electromagnetic field which has the power to trap Metlar, which he often fails to do. Infernac is the name of the underground world where the Inhumanoids live. It is located near the Earth's core and is populated by a variety of creatures and cultures. In one of the episodes, the Earthcore enter into Infernac and interact with its strange inhabitants. The Langostoids are strange creatures that live in Infernac. Metlar uses them to capture the Earthcore by bribing them with food taken from the surface. They are strange-looking creatures that can curl up into a ball, sort of like a grub. Infernac is full of other strange creatures, like these unusual steeds the Inhumanoids ride on. Prototype images show action figures may have been intended as part of the second series. The storyline finds the Earthcore battling not just against Blackthorn Shore and the Inhumanoids, but also against budget cuts, corrupt government officials, and fame-seeking celebrities. There is a healthy dose of political satire for a children's show. By the end of the series, the Earthcore members have become fame seekers and use their status as heroes to get money and power.
That was a close shave.
Sure was, but not nearly as close as the one you get from Mr. Foam.
Ready, camera one?
Part of the greatness of the Inhumanoids mythology is how weird it gets. Since the creators knew there would be no second season, they reached farther and went places they may not have been allowed to go had there been a future. A second wave would have introduced evil-suited figures including the evil Blackthorn Shore, Nightcrawler, and a character called Beastman. The Earthcore would have added Tank and Saberjet and a character called Brute Force. The Muttors would have gained symbiotic twins designed by Ron Rudet, as well as Langostoids, Fossoloids, and Trilobites. Along with their Muttor companions, the Earthcore would have gained heroic steeds to ride into battle, called Horse and Slug. And finally, two more Inhumanoid monsters were to be created, Slither and Gargoyle. The toy line was only around for one season. It was by no means a failure, though. The first wave did $80 million in sales. However, in the incredibly competitive world of 1986 action figures, it was not good enough for Hasbro and the line was canceled. While Inhumanoids only lasted one series, a large fan base has persisted due to the strangeness of the cartoon and the uniqueness of the figures. Tendril, Decompose, and Metlar have become some of the most sought-after vintage toys around. This has been the Mythology of the Inhumanoids. If you want to hear more action figure mythologies, subscribe, ring that bell, and let me know what other mythologies you want me to explore. And check out my Mythology of the Visionaries. Visionaries was also created by Flint Dille and Buzz Dixon, so they're kind of like sisters.